If you're gay, then you're gay. Don't pretend that you're straight. You could be who you are any day of the week.
What am I doing? A general introduction. Got a new song and here's the instructions. Keep it upbeat with a lot of BPM. No parking box, you better move your steps. You hit a hot fun and maybe get messy. Don't touch your wings, the bench will get testy. Do not hate, don't discriminate. Do not hashtag American. American Apparel is a fun. So we wrote this brand new song. Please don't box, get you notice. Please don't box, get you notice. Please don't box, get you notice. Hey, 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 and now we walk this way. Hey, 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 back to the punch, it's not to heaven. Hey, 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 from Sydney to heaven. Hey, 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 with a lot of things to say. Hey, 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 you want to be the Triple A? What's the Triple A stand for anyway?
A is for Alaska.
Now you're talking fastball. The next day is for Hatch. Represent Happy and that's a fact.
Oh, well, the name is never actually I.
Wanna see what's going on between these guys? Started a band with a let's go pal. We take this moment.
Good pal.
Hey, USA. Turn it up and say, hey, hey, hey. These some bugs get you noticed. These some bugs get you noticed. These some bugs get you noticed. Hey, 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 and now we walk this way. Hey, 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 back to the punch, it's not to heaven. Hey, 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 from Sydney to LA. Hey, 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 with a lot of things to say. Triple D, Triple A, battery charge. We don't wear wigs with a front that's hard. Back, front, back, but like stop. Shenanigans, shows and stuff. Will my spank. Alaska got none. Cody's got them all. But only way one. Triple A does, that's what we're called. Come to the party, we'll set you all. We don't just sing songs in big bars. We also fix automotive bars. These don't bugs get you noticed. These don't bugs get you noticed. These don't bugs get you noticed. Hey, 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 and now we walk this way. Hey, 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 back to the punch, it's not to heaven. Hey, 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 from Sydney to LA. Hey, 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 with a lot of things to say. Why is he walking?
Does this I have that I? Trinity came on and where?
No brunch on back today. You are a gay cliche.
So that is the song AAA by Alaska Thunderfuck Rhythm and Cotton Act. That one is quite the thing. That one is one of the really good songs. I like it. So, in the last chapter, Adrenaline, we apparently found out that Drake is missing, and we found out that who has his phone is his older brother, Aaron. So here's the last part of Chapter 16, Adrenaline, and we're doing Chapter 17, Staring at Nothing today. Is someone over here? There was a voice again. The sneakers grazed against the grass, then vibration, like a ringing phone on silent. Then it stopped after 5 rings. Was I hearing Drake's phone? I shook up, my legs aching. I took a small step forward, peering around the edge of the house's wall. Then I called Drake again and stared at the ground, listening carefully. The vibrations began again. They got closer, and then I looked up and froze. Looking for this? A boy was standing 3 feet from me, holding out a phone that vibrated in his hands. My eyes stared at Drake's phone, then slowly crept up the face, searching for something I recognized. The darkness made it difficult to make out the obvious features, except for his droopy eyes and his red hair that fell just above them. Aaron. Chapter 17. Staring at Nothingness. Jay's point of view. I met the shadowy eyes and slowly nodded. Calm down, I'm not gonna kill you, he reassured me quietly. I glanced at Drake's phone. Why do you... I started, but trailed off when he turned around. He started walking back towards the sidewalk, motioning me to follow. We made our way down the street. I crossed my arms across my chest to protect myself against the cool breeze, allowing distance between us made it more secure, although I had to admit I was obviously terrified. I wanted to see Drake, to know where he was, to make sure he was okay, to know why the hell Aaron has his phone, or why he was even here in the first place. But I wasn't getting any answers. The only thing I was hearing now was our footsteps. I started counting them. His soft thuds were inconsistent, making it difficult to count. I had been walking slightly behind him, watching him. He had no sight of emotion or physical energy, at least from what I saw. His hands were shoved into his pockets, and his arms and shoulders were awkwardly stiff. His head drooped over, and I wondered if he was staring at the ground, or if this is just how he usually appears. His head drooping makes it difficult to judge how tall he was, but I concluded it was a bit taller than Drake. It had been 5 minutes. You haven't said anything. His voice caught me off guard. I nodded even though he wasn't looking at me. I began to recognize some of the houses and cars I had passed on my way here. Are you on the track team or something? There was a raspiness in his voice, like a tough man, but held desperation, a lonely little boy. I replied, shaking my head. Made him assumed by then I was going to actually answer. He ran really fast. I stared at his heels. 234, 235, 236. Suddenly he stopped walking and I froze right before I ran into him. I instantly took a step back. Drake told me to come and check on you. I searched the house, but you weren't there, so I came looking. His phone was on the driveway. He probably dropped it. He turned and faced me then. What the fuck were you doing out here anyway? He shook his head and mumbled sorry. My eyes widened at the language I wasn't used to. I was looking for Drake, Anatoly, so where is he? He moved back and forth on his feet, searching with his eyes for something to look at. He is with our dad at the police station. The random breaks in the silence became more apparent. It was like he had to try hard to produce the right words. I nodded and stared at the ground. If I gave him any attention, the dark neighborhood surrounding me wouldn't have freaked. I heard footsteps again, so I moved forward. I exhaled and spoke. Look, I know you know what I did. I gulped, threatening Drake, and I hit Drake several times. He shook his head loosely and held his hands up in surrender. That was a long time ago, you know. Instead of waiting for a reaction, he shrugged it off and then stared hard at the ground moving underneath us. I stayed closer to his side this time. Every once in a while, I glanced up at him. I don't think he noticed because his eyes almost never left the concrete below us. And if they did, they were staring out into nothingness. I wondered if he even saw what he was looking at. I couldn't get over how different Drake and his brother were. From their facial features to the way they walked, although it was dark, I could study some of Aaron's features underneath a few streetlights. His skin was darker than Drake, and his eyes were a dull shade of blue. I only caught sight of one eye because the other had hair falling over it. The wind lifted his hair, and I assumed that he hadn't dyed his hair in a few weeks because the roots were dark brown, like Drake's hair. He tries really hard not to look anything like me. Well, he does. Well, he's doing a decent job. Aaron had been dead silent since we started walking again. When we arrived at his front porch, he unlocked the door and held it open for me. Thank you, I whispered. I looked around the dark walls and the stairway. I frowned. It wasn't much better in here than outside. Aaron flipped on one of the hallway lights and leaned all his weight back against the door. Drake will be back before noon. Okay, thank you. I met his eyes. Then I was right. They were a dull blue. But they also had some green in them. He the same color green as Drake's eyes held. Drake's eyes were so beautiful and lively. Aaron's drooped slightly and were obviously tired, seen as I could hardly keep them open, and they were blurring with red. Yeah, it's fine, I nodded, the same loose nod and avoided eye contact. I sat down on the steps wondering what time it is. He headed towards the kitchen with those same uneven footsteps. I got up. Kid, go to sleep. Kid? He was only 1 year older than me. But pulled out two glasses from the cupboard and filled them with water. He held them to me. Drink this, then go to sleep. You need the rest. I stared at the glass in my hand and drank it all down. Thanks. He gulped his second glass of water down and ran his hands through his hair. Staring straight forward, I searched for what he was staring, but found nothing. Aaron? He made noise acknowledging me. What's wrong? He laughed dryly, but continued staring straight ahead. Don't worry about it, huh? Now that sounds familiar. What do you guys think of Aaron? Let me know in the comments section below what you think about Aaron. Now, if I can remember back to the beginning of, I think, the first story, when Jay was new, there was a guy that had to keep him quiet because the girls would find him. I think it was Aaron that kissed him. But yeah. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. I will see you guys tomorrow. And until next time, gays, okay? Just ask the GSA. Mwah?